Hello there. This is a continuation of our previous video on just the basics of C++ programming. So if you haven't seen that, then I really recommend going to the link in the description, which is for our first video on just the basics. So again, this is a continuation. Okay, so again, we're just going to open the existing project that we made in the previous video.
Oh, I think we deleted that one. We deleted
Did
that
we?
one. Yeah. So.
Okay, never mind then. We shall quickly go through making a new one, just console. Yeah, yeah. Okay, and yeah, on the sources and main.cpp. Okay, so this tutorial will be on variables. Now, what a variable is it is a piece of memory that can be changed over time, unless if you tell it to not change. And you can name it whatever you want, and it will store a value. So there are many popular types of variables. There's an int, which is basically just a whole number, so 1, 2, 5, 6, whatever. But it's not allowed. So an int is not allowed to have a decimal point. Another one is called a double, which it is a number that has a decimal point. And lastly, I'm just going over very popular variables now. A char is short for character. Well, int was short for integer, by the way. Sorry for that. And character. What it's different. It's a word, or a single character. Now with variables, I'm just gonna make an int. You can name it whatever you want. Like with a number, you don't have to name it like 1 or 2 or whatever. You can just name it whatever you want. And then under that you can set it equal to something like 2. But a quicker way of doing that is just creating the new int, and then you can just directly after that set it equal to something. And remember your semicolon. Now when you're outputting, so we're gonna output this variable that's called num, and it has the value of 2. Okay. So, to output it on the screen, in our speech marks, we don't go like num or something, because that's just going to say the word num. Instead, without speech marks, we just do the word num. So, now you may think this is pointless and we could just, with speech marks, print out 2. But in the future, for more advanced things like calculator or something, it is very important to have variables, and it's very easy to have variables as well. So you can also add something to that, so you can do num plus 1, so that would output num plus 1, which is 2 plus 1, which is 3. That's George's basic math tutorial there. So it just outputs 3. And you can do this. You can do this with other variables as well. So you can also do num. I'll make another variable called num2 and set it equal to 3. So if we do num plus num2, it should output 5. This is 2 plus 3. See, 5. Okay. So, yeah, and moving on to chars. Sorry about this. Char. Oops. Just call this word. You have to, when you're calling it something, you have to use the singular speech marks, not the singular ones, not double ones, you know. So, and then inside that you can do H or something. And so if we output word, then build and compile this, it says H. And using this, we can create a very, very basic, well, we just did make a very, very basic calculator using num and num2. But we're going to create, let's say, a better calculator. And to do this, it requires user input. And yes, so if we're making a very basic calculator, we don't set it equal to something because the user sets it equal to something. So for user input, you do CIN. That's for input, and then space. And we don't do the greater than, we do the less. I mean, yeah, the greater than. We don't do the less than, we do the greater than. So, and when you do this, you store it inside a variable. So I'm going to store this inside num, yeah. And then if we do this again, num and num2, so you first enter your first num, and then so whatever the user enters, well, that's the word, it's stored under num, and then whenever a user enters another thing, it's stored under num2. Sorry, should be pointing there. And then so if we output this, we just do num plus num2. So if we build and compile this, it'll just come, I'll do 1 plus 4, and then it just outputs num1. So we made so to recap, we made variables called num and num2, and then using input from here, whatever the user inputs, in this case 1, was stored under the variable num, and then again stored under variable num2. And then we just outputted them plus together. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and bye.
Yeah.
And James.